What if the secret to success isn't working harder, but thinking smarter? In this audiobook, uncover the hidden strategies used by elite minds to predict, adapt, and win in any situation. Master the art of strategic thinking, outmaneuver obstacles, and take control of your future. Introduction. What if I told you that most people are playing the wrong game? Not just in business or competition, but in life itself. Every day, millions make decisions based on habit, emotions, or short-term gains, never realizing that they are reacting instead of strategizing. They wake up, rush through their routines, check off to-do lists, and deal with problems as they arise. But the truth is, the most successful, influential, and powerful individuals do something radically different. They think strategically. They don't just respond to the world around them, they shape it. The difference between those who struggle and those who thrive isn't intelligence, luck, or even hard work. It's the ability to see patterns, anticipate challenges, and position themselves for success before others even realize what's happening. It's a skill that allows people to predict outcomes, outmaneuver obstacles, and create opportunities where none seem to exist. And the best part? Strategic thinking isn't some secret gift reserved for billionaires, world leaders, or master negotiators. It's a skill you can learn, sharpen, and use to gain a serious advantage in any area of your life. The human brain is wired for patterns. Research from neuroscientists at MIT shows that our brains are prediction machines, constantly scanning for signals to anticipate what happens next. But while some people let their brains run on autopilot, others train themselves to think ahead, identify opportunities, and make calculated moves. This is why chess masters, top CEOs, and elite military strategists always seem to be 3 steps ahead. They've developed the ability to see beyond the immediate, recognize leverage points, and execute decisions that lead to long-term success. Now you might be thinking, that sounds great, but how do I apply strategic thinking to my own life? That's exactly what this audiobook is designed to teach you. Whether you want to rise in your career, build a business, strengthen relationships, or simply make better life decisions, mastering strategic thinking will give you an edge that most people never develop. Imagine being able to predict problems before they happen, influence people without force, and make decisions with confidence instead of doubt. That's what real strategy is about. It's not about reacting to the game. It's about controlling the board. But let's be clear. This is not just another book filled with motivational cliches or surface-level advice. Everything in this audiobook is backed by psychology, neuroscience, and real-world examples of how the most effective thinkers navigate challenges and seize opportunities. You'll learn battle-tested techniques used by the world's top strategists, from military generals to Silicon Valley entrepreneurs. You'll discover how Nobel Prize-winning economic theories, behavioral science, and cognitive psychology all come together to form a playbook for making smarter, faster, and more effective decisions. This audiobook is structured to take you on a step-by-step journey into mastering strategy. It starts with rewiring the way you think, breaking free from reactive patterns, and training your brain to see opportunities where others see obstacles. You'll learn how to apply mental models, analyze situations like a grandmaster, and develop a long-term vision that keeps you ahead of the curve. As we go deeper, you'll uncover the secrets behind influence, decision-making under pressure, negotiation tactics, and adaptive thinking in an unpredictable world. Every chapter is designed to be practical, actionable, and immediately useful. This isn't theory. This is a blueprint for real-world success. And here's the thing. The world is getting more competitive every day. If you're not thinking strategically, someone else is. If you're reacting to problems instead of anticipating them, you're already behind. But the fact that you're here, listening to this, means you're different. You're ready to step up, sharpen your mind, and start playing the game at a higher level. So, ask yourself, are you ready to stop reacting and start leading? Are you ready to outthink, outmaneuver, and outsmart any challenge that comes your way? If so, let's begin. Because once you master strategic thinking, you'll never see the world the same way again. Chapter 1. What is strategic thinking? Most people navigate their lives and careers, making decisions moment to moment, reacting to circumstances as they arise. They move through challenges like chess players who can only see one move ahead, responding to threats and opportunities without fully considering the broader landscape. But the greatest strategists, the ones who shape industries, lead nations, and consistently stay ahead of the curve, don't operate this way. They don't just see the next move, they envision the entire game, mapping out possibilities, preparing for contingencies, and positioning themselves in ways that ensure long-term success. Strategic thinking is not simply a skill, but a discipline, a way of perceiving the world that separates those who struggle to keep up from those who dictate the course of events. It is the ability to recognize patterns before they fully form, to anticipate obstacles before they arise, and to make decisions that serve not only the present, but the future. Strategic thinking is what allows someone to not just survive change, but to create it, to shape their own destiny rather than being swept along by the currents of chance. The modern world often discourages strategic thinking. We live in an age of immediate gratification, where success is measured in daily gains, social media metrics, and quarterly profits. Our attention spans are constantly under attack by the relentless pace of information, notifications, and the pressure to keep moving forward without stopping to analyze. The temptation to react, to make decisions quickly without deep analysis, is overwhelming. But this reactive mindset is the enemy of true strategy. Strategic thinkers resist the pull of urgency and instead cultivate patience. They pause when others rush. They reflect when others panic. They think not just about what is happening now, but about what could happen, what should happen, and what must happen to achieve their ultimate objectives. They do not get lost in distractions because they are guided by a clear vision, one that informs every choice they make. But what exactly is strategic thinking? At its core, it is the ability to think ahead, to analyze situations from multiple angles, and to make choices based on both present realities and future possibilities. It is not about reacting to the latest crisis, but about positioning yourself so that crises become opportunities rather than obstacles. It is about ensuring that every move you make contributes to a larger, carefully considered plan. Many people mistake tactics for strategy. A tactic is an action taken to achieve a short-term objective, a marketing campaign, a hiring decision, a sudden pivot in business. Strategy, on the other hand, is the overarching plan that guides those actions, ensuring that each individual choice contributes to a long-term goal. If tactics are the bricks, strategy is the blueprint that determines how those bricks will be arranged to construct something meaningful and lasting. Without a strategy, even the most well-executed tactics will lead nowhere. Strategic thinkers share a set of defining characteristics that allow them to consistently make decisions that move them forward, rather than keeping them stuck in cycles of reaction. First, they think in probabilities rather than absolutes. Most people view the world in black and white. Either something will succeed or it will fail. But strategic thinkers understand that every decision carries a range of potential outcomes. They don't simply ask, "Will this work?" but rather, "What are the chances this will work, and how can I increase those chances?" They weigh risks carefully, assess multiple scenarios, and prepare for different possibilities. They understand that nothing is ever certain, but by stacking the odds in their favor, they can significantly increase their likelihood of success. Second, they always play the long game. While short-term gains can be tempting, strategic thinkers recognize that many immediate victories come at the cost of long-term stability. They resist the urge to take shortcuts that will undermine their future position. They consider the ripple effects of their decisions, understanding that sometimes sacrificing a small advantage today can lead to a much greater payoff down the road. Strategic thinkers are also masters of anticipation. They do not simply react to change, they foresee it. By constantly analyzing trends, observing behaviors, and studying the movements of competitors, they place themselves ahead of the curve. They do not wait for change to force their hand. Instead, they prepare for it, ensuring that when shifts inevitably occur, they are ready to capitalize on them, rather than being caught off guard. Equally important, they are students of history, but not prisoners of it. While they understand that past experiences hold valuable lessons, they do not blindly follow old patterns. They recognize that every situation is unique, and that just because a strategy worked once does not mean it will work again. Instead of relying on what has always been done, they focus on what all should be done, based on the realities of the present and the uncertainties of the future. Another key trait of strategic thinkers is their comfort with uncertainty. Most people crave certainty, seeking guarantees before making decisions. But the best strategists know that certainty is an illusion. No plan is ever foolproof, and no future is ever fully predictable. Instead of becoming paralyzed by the unknown, they embrace it. They prepare for multiple scenarios, developing contingency plans that allow them to pivot as needed. They do not fear uncertainty because they know that adaptability is the most powerful advantage anyone can have. Despite its importance, strategic thinking is often misunderstood. Many people believe that only highly intelligent individuals are capable of thinking strategically. This is a myth. Strategy is not about intelligence. It is about discipline. Some of the most brilliant minds in history have failed because they lack the ability to think strategically, making impulsive decisions without considering long-term consequences. Strategic thinking is not about knowing everything. It is about knowing how to analyze, how to plan, and how to adapt. Another common misconception is that strategic thinking takes too much time. In reality, it is the opposite. While it may require more effort up front, strategic thinking ultimately saves time by preventing wasted effort and costly mistakes. Those who operate without strategy may move quickly, but they often find themselves going in circles, making the same errors over and over again. Strategic thinkers, by contrast, move deliberately and purposefully, ensuring that each step builds on the last. Some believe that strategic thinking means being rigid and unwilling to change course. But in truth, the best strategies are flexible. A strategy is not a script that must be followed no matter what. It is a framework that allows for adaptation. Strategic thinkers understand that conditions change, new information emerges, and unexpected challenges arise. Instead of clinging to a failing plan, they adjust. They remain committed to their ultimate goal, but are willing to modify their approach as needed. To become a strategic thinker, you must first develop the habit of questioning assumptions. Most people accept what they are told without critical analysis. Strategic thinkers, however, constantly ask, why and what if? They challenge conventional wisdom, looking for flaws in common narratives and seeking out alternative perspectives. They train themselves to see beyond the surface, identifying hidden opportunities and risks that others overlook. Developing strategic thinking also requires the ability to zoom in and zoom out, to focus on the details when necessary, but always return to the big picture. This ability to shift perspectives is what allows great strategists to make decisions that align with both immediate needs and long-term objectives. Strategic thinking is not a skill reserved for CEOs, military leaders, or political masterminds. It is a skill that can be applied to every aspect of life, from career planning to financial decisions to personal relationships. Whether you want to excel in business, achieve long-term personal goals, or simply become better at making smart decisions, the ability to think strategically will give you a profound advantage. It will enable you to move through life with confidence, knowing that each decision you make is part of a larger, well-thought-out plan. In the chapters ahead, we will break down the key components of strategic thinking, explore powerful frameworks that will help you sharpen your decision-making skills, and provide practical exercises to help you apply these concepts in real life. By the time you finish this audiobook, you will not just understand what strategic thinking is, you will embody it. Chapter 2. The core principles of strategic thinking. Strategic thinking is not an abstract concept reserved for boardrooms, military war rooms, or government negotiations. It is a discipline that, when mastered, enhances every aspect of life, from career progression and financial decisions to personal relationships and long-term goal setting. It is the ability to think beyond immediate impulses and temporary challenges, to craft a vision that aligns with meaningful objectives, and to navigate uncertainty with confidence. But mastering this skill is not about luck or natural talent. It is about understanding and internalizing core principles that shape the way the greatest minds think. These principles are not just theories. They are actionable mindsets that will fundamentally shift how you approach problems, opportunities, and decisions. At the heart of strategic thinking lies the ability to see the long-term vision while managing short-term realities. Many people get caught in the urgency of today, making choices based on what feels immediate rather than what serves their future. They take jobs that offer quick paychecks but no growth. They enter relationships based on attraction but ignore compatibility. They invest in trends that seem promising now but lack sustainability. Strategic thinkers operate differently. They assess each decision not just by how it serves them today, but by how it positions them for the future. They ask themselves, what does this choice build toward? How does this move affect the next 5 steps? Am I sacrificing future stability for present convenience? They do not avoid short-term actions, but they ensure that those actions contribute to a well-crafted long-term vision. Another foundational principle is the power of adaptability. The best strategies are not rigid roadmaps. They are dynamic frameworks that evolve with changing circumstances. Many people believe that having a plan means sticking to it no matter what, but this is a dangerous misconception. The most successful individuals and organizations thrive not because they set a plan in stone, but because they know when to pivot. A company that refuses to adapt to technological advancements will soon become irrelevant. An investor who refuses to adjust to market conditions will face losses. A leader who insists on sticking to old models despite new realities will fail. True strategic thinkers operate with a paradox. They are unwavering in their vision, but flexible in their approach. They understand that strategy is not about stubbornness, but about situational awareness and agility. Another core principle of strategic thinking is understanding first-order and second-order consequences. Many people make decisions based on immediate outcomes, the first-order consequence, without considering the ripple effects that follow. For example, someone might accept a promotion without considering the increased stress, time commitment, and impact on personal life that come with it. A company might slash costs to improve quarterly profits, only to realize later that employee morale and innovation suffer, leading to long-term decline. Strategic thinkers do not just ask, what happens next? They ask, what happens after that? They trace the consequences of their decisions 2, 3, or even 4 steps ahead, allowing them to avoid pitfalls that others fail to see. They recognize that every choice creates a chain reaction, and they train themselves to predict and prepare for those reactions. Risk management is another fundamental pillar of strategic thinking. Most people either avoid risk entirely or take risks blindly. Neither approach is strategic. Risk in itself is not a bad thing. It is a natural part of progress and success. However, the key to intelligent risk-taking is evaluating risk versus reward. Great strategists do not shy away from uncertainty, but they also do not jump into decisions recklessly. They assess the downside, calculate potential losses, and determine whether the potential upside justifies the risk. They mitigate where possible and prepare for failure scenarios, ensuring that even if something goes wrong, they can recover. This is what separates calculated risk from reckless gambling. Entrepreneurs who succeed do not take risks for the sake of it. They take risks because they have analyzed probabilities and positioned themselves to win more than they lose. Another principle deeply embedded in strategic thinking is controlling the controllables while preparing for the uncontrollables. Many people waste time stressing over factors beyond their influence: market fluctuations, unexpected disruptions, global trends, while neglecting the elements they can shape. A strategic thinker directs their energy toward what they can impact. They cannot predict when a recession will happen, but they can ensure their finances are resilient. They cannot control competition, but they can improve their unique value proposition. They cannot dictate industry changes, but they can build skills that make them adaptable. They do not obsess over uncertainty. They focus on preparation. They operate with the mindset that while they may not control everything, they can control enough to remain powerful players in any scenario. The ability to anticipate and shape future trends is another principle that separates strategic thinkers from the rest. Most people focus only on the present moment, reacting to changes as they occur. Strategic thinkers, however, constantly scan the horizon, identifying patterns before they become obvious. They do not wait for change to happen to them. They prepare for it in advance. Businesses that thrive are those that anticipate customer needs before customers even recognize them. Innovators do not simply follow trends, they create them. Politicians who shape history are not those who respond to crises, but those who foresee and prevent them. Strategic thinkers train themselves to ask, "What's next? What shifts are coming? How can I position myself ahead of the curve?" Instead of being reactive, they are proactive, ensuring that when change comes, they are not just ready, they are leading it. Finally, strategic thinking requires ruthless prioritization. In a world of endless options, distractions, and competing demands, many people struggle to determine what truly matters. They spread themselves too thin, saying yes to everything, working harder but not smarter, and ultimately failing to make meaningful progress. Strategic thinkers, however, understand that not all actions are created equal. They apply the 80-20 principle, recognizing that a small percentage of efforts generate the majority of results. They do not chase every opportunity. They focus only on the ones that align with their long-term strategy. They understand that every yes to something insignificant is a no to something critical. They know that the ability to say no is just as important as the ability to say yes. Strategic thinking is not just about intelligence or information. It is about approach. It is about training your mind to think in layers, to plan for multiple outcomes, to balance ambition with caution, and to continuously refine your understanding of the landscape. It is a process of constant refinement, self-awareness, and adaptability. It requires discipline, patience, and the willingness to operate differently from the masses who move reactively through life. The individuals who master this skill will always hold an advantage, no matter what field they are in, because while others are playing checkers, they are playing chess. In the next chapter, we will explore how critical thinking strengthens strategic thinking, breaking down the cognitive traps that cloud judgment, the logical frameworks that lead to better decisions, and the mental models that can be applied to any challenge. By sharpening your critical thinking abilities, you will unlock a new level of strategic clarity, allowing you to navigate complexity with confidence and precision. Chapter 3: Critical Thinking: Sharpening the Mind for Strategic Mastery. The foundation of strategic thinking is not just planning or vision. It is the ability to think clearly, logically, and independently. Critical thinking is the weapon that sharpens strategy, ensuring that decisions are not clouded by bias, impulsiveness, or flawed reasoning. Without critical thinking, strategy becomes a game of luck. Decisions are made based on emotion, tradition, or superficial analysis rather than deep, rational examination. Strategic thinkers know that their most powerful tool is not instinct or experience alone, but their ability to question, analyze, and refine their thought processes to avoid the common pitfalls that lead so many to failure. At its core, critical thinking is the discipline of questioning assumptions. The world is full of inherited beliefs, untested traditions, and widely accepted truths that go unchallenged. Many people accept what they are told or follow the path laid out for them without ever asking, is this actually true? Does this make sense? What evidence supports this? Critical thinkers do not take things at face value. They dissect arguments, challenge popular narratives, and seek out alternative perspectives. They understand that just because something is commonly believed does not mean it is correct. This ability to challenge assumptions is what separates those who lead from those who follow. One of the most common traps that strategic thinkers must avoid is confirmation bias, the tendency to seek out information that supports one's existing beliefs while ignoring evidence that contradicts them. Most people do not actively search for truth. They search for validation. They listen to opinions that align with theirs, read articles that reinforce their worldview, and dismiss arguments that make them uncomfortable. Strategic thinkers, however, deliberately expose themselves to opposing viewpoints. They actively seek out disconfirming evidence. If they believe a business decision will be successful, they do not just look for reasons why they are right. They look for reasons why they might be wrong. They play devil's advocate against themselves, testing their assumptions to ensure they hold up under scrutiny. This practice does not make them pessimistic. It makes them prepared. Another fundamental aspect of critical thinking is the ability to differentiate between correlation and causation. The human mind is wired to see patterns, even where none exist. It is easy to assume that because two events happen together, one must have caused the other. A company sees an increase in revenue after launching a new product and assumes the product is the reason for the success, without considering other factors like seasonal demand, market trends, or competitor failures. A person follows a morning routine before an important meeting, has a successful day, and believes the routine is responsible for their success, without recognizing the real cause may have been their preparation, skills, or timing. Strategic thinkers train themselves to ask, is this truly a cause, or is it just coincidence? What other factors could be influencing this outcome? They dig deeper, using data, logic, and experimentation to separate truth from illusion. A critical thinker also understands the danger of overgeneralization, the tendency to draw broad conclusions from limited data. It is easy to assume that because one startup failed, all startups are risky. It is tempting to believe that because a particular strategy worked once, it will always work. But reality is far more nuanced. Strategic thinkers resist the urge to make sweeping assumptions. They recognize that every situation is unique and that context matters. They do not let a few data points dictate their entire worldview. Instead, they continuously test, refine, and adapt their conclusions based on new information. Another crucial mental skill that strengthens strategic thinking is understanding cognitive biases. The human brain, for all its power, is riddled with systematic thinking errors that distort perception and judgment. The availability heuristic causes people to overestimate the likelihood of events that come to mind easily, making them fear rare but dramatic occurrences like plane crashes, while ignoring far more common dangers like heart disease. The sunk cost fallacy traps people in failing ventures, simply because they have already invested time or money, even when cutting losses would be the smarter move. The bandwagon effect leads people to follow the crowd rather than making independent judgments. Strategic thinkers familiarize themselves with these biases, not just to recognize them in others, but to root them out in their own thinking. They know that being intelligent is not enough. They must actively work to counteract the mental shortcuts that lead even the smartest people astray. Critical thinking also requires clarity of language and thought. Many people fall into the trap of vague reasoning, using ambiguous terms and unclear concepts that mask true understanding. They talk about success, efficiency, or innovation without clearly defining what those terms mean. They rely on jargon, buzzwords, and slogans instead of precise analysis. Strategic thinkers do not allow themselves to hide behind vague language. They ask, "What exactly do I mean by this? How can I measure or define this concept? Am I using clear, specific terms, or am I relying on vague generalities?" This precision of thought ensures that their decisions are based on solid reasoning rather than empty rhetoric. One of the most powerful tools in critical thinking is the use of mental models, frameworks that simplify complex problems and provide a structured way of thinking. Mental models help strategic thinkers analyze situations from multiple perspectives, avoid common cognitive traps, and make better decisions. Some of the most effective mental models include first principles thinking, breaking down complex problems to their most fundamental truths, and reasoning up from there rather than relying on assumptions or conventions. Elon Musk famously applies this method to engineering, questioning traditional constraints and reconstructing solutions from the ground up. The Pareto principle, 80-20 rule, recognizing that a small number of factors, often 20%, drive the majority of results, often 80%. This model helps focus effort on the highest impact areas rather than getting lost in minor details. Inversion thinking. Instead of asking, "What will make me successful?" asking, "What will guarantee failure?" and avoiding those pitfalls. This method forces a shift in perspective that highlights risks and blind spots. Occam's razor. The principle that the simplest explanation that fits the evidence is usually correct. When faced with multiple theories, strategic thinkers favor clarity and simplicity over unnecessary complexity. Second-order thinking. Considering not just immediate consequences, but the long-term ripple effects of decisions. This model prevents short-sighted thinking and ensures that each choice aligns with broader strategic goals. Strategic thinkers integrate these models into their decision-making process, using them as lenses through which they examine problems, assess risks, and uncover opportunities. By developing a mental toolbox filled with diverse models, they increase their ability to navigate uncertainty with clarity and confidence. Finally, critical thinking requires intellectual humility, the willingness to admit when one is wrong, and the ability to change one's mind in the face of new evidence. Many people cling to their beliefs out of pride, fearing that admitting a mistake will make them look weak. But strategic thinkers know that stubbornness is not strength. Adaptability is. They view being wrong not as a failure, but as an opportunity to improve. They do not attach their ego to their opinions. Instead, they attach their success to their ability to refine and update their thinking. Mastering critical thinking is not about becoming a skeptic who doubts everything. It is about becoming a thinker who questions everything intelligently. It is about training the mind to resist bias, seek truth, analyze complexity, and refine strategies with precision. It is the skill that prevents costly mistakes, enhances decision-making, and separates those who operate blindly from those who navigate life with clarity and control. In the next chapter, we will apply these critical thinking principles to real-world decision-making, exploring how to break down complex choices, evaluate trade-offs, and ensure that every decision made contributes to long-term success. Chapter 4. Decision Making, the Art of Choosing Wisely. The ability to make high-quality decisions consistently is one of the most valuable skills a person can develop. Every aspect of life, career, finances, relationships, health, and personal growth, depends on the choices we make. Yet, most people approach decision-making haphazardly, relying on intuition, emotions, or external influence rather than a structured, strategic approach. Strategic thinkers understand that decision-making is not about luck or gut feelings. It is a disciplined process that requires careful evaluation, structured reasoning, and an awareness of cognitive biases. When mastered, this skill separates those who navigate life with confidence and control from those who are at the mercy of circumstances. The foundation of effective decision-making is clarity of objectives. Many poor decisions stem from not truly understanding what one is trying to achieve. People often pursue vague desires, happiness, success, financial freedom, without defining what these mean in concrete terms. Without clear objectives, it is impossible to evaluate options effectively. A strategic thinker does not simply ask, "What do I want?" but rather, "What specific outcome am I aiming for? What problem am I solving? What criteria define a successful decision?" This level of clarity eliminates confusion, filters distractions, and ensures that choices align with broader goals, rather than fleeting impulses. Once objectives are clear, the next step is gathering the right information. Many decisions suffer from either too little or too much information. Some people act impulsively without doing proper research, while others fall into analysis paralysis, endlessly collecting data but never acting. Strategic thinkers strike a balance. They identify the key pieces of information needed to make an informed choice and avoid drowning in irrelevant details. They also ensure they are getting their information from diverse and reliable sources, avoiding the trap of confirmation bias. Instead of seeking information that supports their preconceptions, they actively look for opposing viewpoints and critical insights that challenge their assumptions. Another crucial principle of decision-making is framing the problem correctly. The way a problem is framed determines the solutions considered. Many poor decisions come from looking at problems through a narrow or misleading lens. For example, a business struggling with declining sales might frame the problem as, "How do we sell more?" when the real question should be, "Why aren't customers buying?" or "What needs are we failing to meet?" A person facing a career choice might ask, "Which job pays more?" when a better question could be, "Which job aligns with my long-term vision?" Strategic thinkers know that reframing a problem often leads to entirely different and more effective solutions. A powerful tool for structured decision-making is decision matrices. These are frameworks that help weigh options objectively, breaking choices into key factors and assigning values to each. For example, when evaluating a job offer, one might consider salary, growth opportunities, work-life balance, company culture, and location. Instead of making a decision based on a single dominant factor, a decision matrix allows a person to assign weights to each category based on personal priorities, ensuring a more balanced and rational choice. While this method may not be necessary for every decision, for complex or high-stakes choices, it eliminates emotional distortion and ensures that the best overall option is selected. Another essential aspect of decision-making is assessing risk and uncertainty. Many people fear making decisions because of uncertainty, believing that the right choice should come with absolute certainty. But no major decision is ever free of risk. The best strategic thinkers do not seek perfect certainty. They seek calculated probabilities. They analyze potential risks, estimate likelihoods, and determine whether the potential rewards justify the risks. They use frameworks like expected value analysis, where each possible outcome is weighted by its probability and impact. For example, If an entrepreneur is deciding whether to launch a new product, they will estimate potential revenue, costs, competition, and market trends, assigning probabilities to different scenarios to determine if the decision is a net positive. One of the most overlooked yet crucial elements of decision-making is considering second-order consequences. Many poor decisions come from focusing only on immediate outcomes while ignoring long-term effects. A business might cut costs aggressively to boost short-term profits, only to suffer later from declining employee morale and innovation. A person might take a job for its high salary, only to realize years later that they sacrificed personal fulfillment and growth. Strategic thinkers do not just ask, "What happens next?" They ask, "What happens after that?" They trace the ripple effects of their decisions several steps ahead, ensuring that short-term gains do not lead to long-term losses. Another decision-making framework that separates strategic thinkers from the average person is reversible versus irreversible decisions. Not all decisions carry the same weight. Some choices, like career moves, financial investments, or major life commitments, are difficult or impossible to undo. Others, like trying a new marketing strategy, experimenting with a diet, or testing a new productivity habit, can be easily reversed if they do not work. Strategic thinkers move quickly on reversible decisions, knowing that delaying is often more costly than acting. But when faced with an irreversible choice, they slow down, analyze deeply, and ensure they have evaluated all key factors before committing. Another key principle is emotional discipline in decision-making. Many poor choices stem from acting on emotion rather than reason, making impulsive purchases out of excitement, quitting a job out of frustration, or making investment decisions based on fear. Strategic thinkers recognize that emotions can distort judgment. They apply the 24-hour rule, waiting a day before making major decisions to let emotions settle. They also use pre-mortem analysis, a technique where they imagine that a decision has already failed and then ask, "What went wrong?" This forces them to anticipate potential problems and refine their strategy before committing. One of the most effective ways to improve decision-making is learning from past choices. Most people move from one decision to the next without analyzing their past successes and failures. Strategic thinkers, however, conduct regular decision audits. They review their major past choices, identifying what worked, what did not, and what patterns emerge. They ask, "Did I gather enough information? Did I let bias affect my thinking? Did I consider long-term consequences?" Over time, this habit compounds, refining their ability to make better choices with greater consistency. Finally, strategic thinkers embrace the concept of opportunity cost, the understanding that every choice has a hidden cost, the alternative path that was not taken. Many people make decisions without considering what they are giving up. They say yes to commitments without realizing they are sacrificing time that could be spent on higher value activities. They invest resources into one project without evaluating whether another opportunity might yield greater returns. Strategic thinkers constantly ask, "Is this the best use of my time, money, or energy? What is the opportunity cost of this choice?" This mindset ensures that their decisions maximize value rather than simply settling for what is available. Mastering decision-making is not about eliminating uncertainty. It is about developing a structured approach that ensures consistently high-quality choices. By clarifying objectives, gathering the right information, framing problems effectively, assessing risks, considering second-order consequences, distinguishing between reversible and irreversible choices, maintaining emotional discipline, learning from past decisions, and always weighing opportunity costs, strategic thinkers gain a significant advantage in every aspect of life. In the next chapter, we will explore strategic execution, turning great decisions into real-world success. Because even the best decisions mean nothing if they are not executed with precision, adaptability, and relentless follow-through. Chapter 5. Strategic Execution, Turning Decisions into Reality. A well-crafted strategy and a carefully considered decision mean nothing without execution. The world is filled with people who have great ideas, compelling visions, and ambitious plans, yet only a small fraction ever turn them into reality. Why? Because execution is where most people falter. The gap between knowing what to do and actually doing it is vast, and only those who understand the principles of strategic execution can bridge it. While planning requires analysis and foresight, execution demands discipline, adaptability, persistence, and the ability to manage both people and resources effectively. Strategic thinkers recognize that success is not about having the best ideas. It is about implementing those ideas better than anyone else. The first critical element of execution is clarity of action. Many people fail to execute effectively because they do not translate their goals into clear, concrete actions. They set vague objectives like become healthier, grow my business, or improve productivity, but they never define the specific steps required to achieve these goals. Strategic thinkers break down every goal into clear, measurable actions. If the goal is to increase business revenue, they do not stop at that broad objective. They define specific initiatives: improving customer retention, optimizing pricing, expanding marketing channels, or increasing sales efficiency. Each of these initiatives is further broken down into actionable tasks with deadlines, responsibilities, and key performance indicators, KPIs. Without this level of clarity, execution remains an abstract concept rather than a systematic process. Another essential aspect of execution is prioritization. One of the most common mistakes people make is trying to do too much at once. They get excited about their plans and launch multiple projects simultaneously, only to become overwhelmed and make little progress on any of them. Strategic thinkers understand the power of focus. They apply frameworks like the Eisenhower matrix, which categorizes tasks into 4 quadrants: urgent and important, important but not urgent, urgent but not important, and neither urgent nor important. They ensure that they spend most of their time on tasks that are important but not urgent, activities that drive long-term success rather than reacting to immediate pressures. A powerful execution strategy that strategic thinkers use is the 90-day cycle approach. Instead of setting long-term goals without structure, they break their plans into 90-day execution windows. This time frame is long enough to achieve meaningful progress, but short enough to maintain urgency and adaptability. They define 3 to 5 key objectives for each 90-day period and focus relentlessly on achieving them before moving on to the next phase. This method keeps execution disciplined and prevents the common pitfall of setting goals that feel distant and vague. One of the biggest execution challenges is overcoming resistance and inertia. Many people fail, not because they lack the ability, but because they struggle with the psychological barriers that prevent action. Procrastination, self-doubt, and fear of failure are among the biggest killers of execution. Strategic thinkers combat these obstacles by implementing structured accountability systems. They track their progress through daily and weekly check-ins, set clear deadlines, and often use external accountability, whether through mentors, teams, or performance tracking tools, to ensure they stay on course. They understand that relying on willpower alone is a losing strategy. Instead, they create an environment that forces them to stay committed. Another major execution principle is speed of implementation. Many people spend too much time refining their plans, trying to perfect every detail before taking action. While careful planning is important, strategic thinkers know that execution favors speed. They adopt the mindset of launch fast, iterate quickly. They understand that no plan survives first contact with reality, and that the best way to refine a strategy is through real-world testing. They do not wait for perfect conditions. They take action, measure results, and adjust based on feedback. This approach, commonly known as agile execution, allows for rapid learning and prevents stagnation. Execution also demands resource management. Many projects fail not because of bad ideas, but because of poor allocation of time, money, and human capital. Strategic thinkers assess their available resources realistically and ensure they are being used efficiently. They avoid the trap of spreading resources too thin across multiple initiatives, and instead concentrate their efforts where they will have the most impact. They apply the Pareto principle, 80-20 rule, identifying the 20% of actions that will generate 80% of the results and doubling down on them. This ensures that every resource, whether financial, human, or time-based, is directed toward the highest yield activities. One of the most underestimated aspects of execution is momentum management. The hardest part of any endeavor is often getting started, but once movement begins, momentum builds, making sustained progress easier. Strategic thinkers are experts at generating and maintaining momentum. They structure their work to create early wins, small, quick successes that build confidence and reinforce action. They also understand that consistency beats intensity. It is better to make steady progress daily than to have bursts of effort followed by long periods of stagnation. They design execution systems that encourage sustained progress rather than relying on motivation alone. A key factor in execution is resilience and adaptability. No plan unfolds exactly as expected, and obstacles are inevitable. Many people give up when faced with setbacks, seeing them as signs of failure rather than as opportunities for adjustment. Strategic thinkers embrace setbacks as part of the process. They practice adaptive execution, meaning they constantly reassess their approach, learn from feedback, and refine their tactics in real time. They do not get emotionally attached to a single method. Instead, they remain committed to the end goal while being flexible about how to get there. Another crucial execution strategy is delegation and leverage. Many people struggle with execution because they try to do everything themselves. Strategic thinkers recognize that effective execution often requires building a team, outsourcing tasks, and leveraging external resources. They ask, what parts of this task require my direct involvement and what can be delegated? They focus their energy on high-value activities while ensuring that routine or lower-impact tasks are handled by others. This allows them to scale execution without burning out. A final but often overlooked execution principle is measurement and review. Strategic thinkers do not just execute blindly, they track progress meticulously. They set clear performance indicators and regularly evaluate their results against benchmarks. If something is not working, they diagnose the problem, adjust the approach, and refine execution. They apply the feedback loop principle, where action leads to measurement, which leads to adjustment, creating a continuous cycle of improvement. This ensures that execution is not just about working hard, but about working smart. Mastering execution is about bridging the gap between ideas and results. It requires clarity, prioritization, accountability, speed, resource management, momentum, resilience, delegation, and continuous learning. It is what separates those who simply dream from those who build, those who plan from those who achieve. In the next chapter, we will explore one of the most critical factors in long-term success: strategic adaptability. Because even the best executed plans must evolve with changing circumstances, and those who master adaptability gain a lasting competitive edge. Chapter 6: Strategic Adaptability, Thriving in a Changing World. The world is in constant flux. Markets shift, technologies evolve, competitors rise, and the unexpected becomes reality more often than not. The ability to adapt strategically is not just a desirable trait, it is a survival skill. Those who rigidly cling to outdated methods, refusing to evolve with changing circumstances, eventually find themselves obsolete, outpaced, or outmaneuvered. Meanwhile, those who develop strategic adaptability, the ability to reassess, pivot, and execute new approaches without losing sight of long-term objectives, gain an undeniable competitive advantage. The greatest strategists are not those who set a course and stubbornly stick to it no matter what. They are those who know when to hold their ground and when to shift directions while maintaining clarity of purpose. At its core, adaptability requires situational awareness, the ability to perceive changes in the environment before they become overwhelming. Many failures happen not because people or organizations lack intelligence or effort, but because they fail to notice the warning signs of change early enough. Strategic thinkers cultivate acute awareness by constantly scanning their surroundings, staying informed about trends, and analyzing the potential impact of emerging developments. They do not wait for disruption to force their hand. They anticipate it. They recognize that early recognition of change allows for proactive adjustments rather than reactive damage control. One of the most powerful tools for adaptability is scenario planning. Instead of assuming the future will unfold in a linear and predictable fashion, strategic thinkers map out multiple possible futures. They ask, what if the market shifts dramatically? What if technology renders this model obsolete? What if competitors enter the space aggressively? By constructing multiple plausible scenarios, they prepare contingency plans in advance, ensuring that when change does occur, they are not caught off guard. This approach transforms uncertainty from a source of fear into a strategic advantage. Another essential element of adaptability is intellectual humility, the willingness to question one's own assumptions and accept that even the best strategies may need revision. Many individuals and organizations fall victim to the sunk cost fallacy, continuing to invest in failing strategies simply because they have already invested significant time, money, or effort into them. Strategic thinkers recognize that clinging to a bad decision out of pride or stubbornness is far more costly than making necessary adjustments. They practice flexible commitment, being fully dedicated to their goals, but open-minded about how to achieve them. A critical skill in adaptability is rapid learning and iteration. The faster one can learn from new information and integrate it into their approach, the greater their ability to navigate change effectively. Strategic thinkers adopt an experimental mindset, testing new approaches on a small scale before fully committing. They implement minimum viable changes, small, low-risk adjustments that allow them to gather real-world feedback before making larger strategic shifts. This iterative approach enables continuous improvement without overcommitting to untested ideas. One of the most overlooked aspects of adaptability is emotional resilience. Change can be uncomfortable, unsettling, and at times, discouraging. Many people resist change not because they lack the intelligence to adapt, but because they fear the uncertainty it brings. Strategic thinkers develop psychological flexibility, training themselves to embrace uncertainty as a natural and inevitable part of progress. They reframe change not as a threat, but as an opportunity for growth. Instead of lamenting the loss of an old approach, they focus on the new possibilities that arise. Adaptability also requires building diverse networks and perspectives. Many individuals and organizations fall into the trap of echo chambers, surrounding themselves only with like-minded people who reinforce their existing beliefs. This limits perspective and blinds them to new opportunities or threats. Strategic thinkers actively seek out diverse viewpoints, engage with people from different backgrounds, and expose themselves to a wide range of ideas. They understand that innovation often comes from the collision of different perspectives, not from isolated thinking. Another crucial element of adaptability is resource reallocation. As circumstances change, the best strategic thinkers reassess how they are using their time, energy, and financial resources. Instead of sticking to old budget allocations, organizational structures, or time investments simply because they have always been that way, they ask, Is this still the best use of our resources? Where should we be investing more? What areas should we deprioritize or eliminate? This fluid approach ensures that resources are always being directed toward the highest value opportunities rather than being trapped in outdated commitments. One of the most important mindsets for adaptability is opportunistic thinking, the ability to see potential advantages where others see obstacles. Many people view disruptions as purely negative, failing to recognize the openings they create. Strategic thinkers, however, constantly ask, where is the hidden opportunity in this change? How can we reposition ourselves to benefit from this shift? What new value can we create that was not possible before? This mindset allows them to not only survive change, but to use it as a catalyst for innovation and competitive positioning. A powerful execution tool in adaptability is the pivot principle. This is the ability to shift strategies without losing momentum. Instead of abandoning their vision entirely when faced with obstacles, strategic thinkers adjust their methods while staying true to their core purpose. This principle has been the foundation of many of history's most successful transformations. Companies that started in one industry but adapted to a more promising one, individuals who transitioned careers successfully, and innovators who redirected their efforts to capitalize on emerging trends. The key to a successful pivot is knowing which elements of a strategy to retain and which to modify. Another essential adaptability strategy is preparing for asymmetrical changes. Many people and organizations expect change to happen gradually and predictably, but in reality, most major shifts occur in sudden, non-linear ways. Strategic thinkers prepare for step function changes, those moments when an industry, technology, or competitive landscape shifts dramatically overnight. By staying agile and maintaining a margin of flexibility in their plans, they can move quickly when unexpected changes occur, seizing opportunities while others are still reacting. A final but critical aspect of adaptability is learning from past adaptations. The best strategists do not just respond to change once, they build a system for continuous learning and adaptation. They conduct postmortems on major shifts, analyzing what worked, what did not, and what lessons can be applied to future changes. They ask, how well did we anticipate this change? What signals did we miss? How can we improve our adaptability next time? By institutionalizing this learning process, they ensure that each change makes them stronger, rather than merely serving as a survival challenge. Mastering adaptability is about more than just reacting to change. It is about developing the foresight, agility, and mindset required to turn uncertainty into an advantage. It requires situational awareness, scenario planning, intellectual humility, rapid learning, emotional resilience, diverse perspectives, opportunistic thinking, and strategic pivots. Those who master adaptability do not merely keep up with change, they shape it to their advantage. In the next chapter, we will explore an equally vital skill, strategic influence, because in any field, success is not just about making great decisions and adapting well. It is also about persuading, leading, and shaping the decisions of others. Those who master influence gain the power to rally people around their vision, build strong alliances, and turn strategy into collective action. Chapter 7: Strategic Influence: Mastering the Art of Persuasion and Leadership. The ability to influence others is one of the most powerful skills in strategic thinking. No strategy, no matter how brilliant, can succeed in isolation. Whether in business, politics, or personal life, the ability to shape decisions, rally support, and persuade others is what determines the difference between an idea that remains theoretical and one that is successfully implemented. Strategic influence is not about manipulation or coercion. It is about understanding human psychology, building trust, and aligning interests so that others willingly and enthusiastically support your vision. Those who master influence are able to shift mindsets, inspire action, and create lasting impact. One of the foundational principles of influence is credibility. People follow those they trust, and trust is built through consistency, competence, and character. The most influential leaders are those who establish themselves as reliable authorities in their fields. They demonstrate expertise not just through words, but through action. They deliver results, follow through on commitments, and uphold their values even when it is inconvenient. Strategic thinkers understand that credibility is not built overnight. It is the cumulative result of repeated demonstrations of integrity and effectiveness. They also recognize that credibility is fragile. One instance of dishonesty, hypocrisy, or failure to keep promises can damage years of reputation building. Another essential factor in influence is emotional intelligence, EQ. The ability to understand and navigate emotions, both one's own and those of others, is what separates average persuaders from master influencers. Strategic thinkers develop a keen sense of empathy, the ability to see the world from another person's perspective. They understand that people are not persuaded by logic alone. They are moved by how something makes them feel. They pay attention to nonverbal cues, tone of voice, and underlying motivations. They listen more than they speak, and when they do speak, they tailor their message to resonate with the values, concerns, and desires of their audience. One of the most effective influence techniques is framing. How an idea is presented can completely change how it is perceived. Strategic thinkers understand that people do not react to objective facts alone. They react to the way those facts are framed. A price increase, for example, can be framed as a necessary investment in quality rather than an additional burden. A difficult change in an organization can be framed as an exciting opportunity rather than a disruption. Those who master framing control the narrative, shaping how others interpret information and respond to it. Another key element of strategic influence is reciprocity. Human beings have a deep-seated psychological tendency to return favors and gestures of goodwill. The best influencers use this principle ethically to create strong, cooperative relationships. They offer value before asking for anything in return, whether through mentorship, support, or generosity. They understand that influence is built on relationships, and relationships thrive on mutual benefit. When people feel that you have genuinely helped them, they are far more likely to listen to your perspective and support your initiatives. Influence is also about timing and patience. Many people make the mistake of pushing too hard, too fast. They try to force decisions before the other party is ready, leading to resistance rather than persuasion. Strategic thinkers understand that influence is often a process, not a single moment. They plant seeds of ideas early, give people time to process and internalize new perspectives, and wait for the right moment to make their request or proposal. They also recognize the power of strategic silence, sometimes saying nothing and allowing the other party to reach a conclusion on their own is more powerful than any argument. One of the most underestimated aspects of influence is social proof. People are far more likely to be persuaded when they see that others, especially those they respect, have already embraced an idea. Strategic thinkers leverage this principle by building alliances and gathering testimonials. They understand that convincing one key influencer can create a ripple effect, making it easier to persuade an entire group. They also use case studies, success stories, and public endorsements to reinforce their credibility. Another crucial skill in influence is adaptability in communication. Many people try to persuade others using the same approach in every situation. Strategic thinkers, however, tailor their message to different personalities and contexts. They recognize that some people respond best to logical arguments, while others are moved by emotional appeals. Some need data and detailed explanations, while others require concise, high-level summaries. The best influencers are versatile in their communication, adjusting their approach based on their audience's preferences and decision-making style. A powerful strategy in influence is persuasion, the idea that the context before a message is delivered can shape how it is received. Research shows that people's receptivity to persuasion depends on what they were thinking about immediately beforehand. Strategic thinkers use this principle to prime their audience for acceptance. If they want to persuade someone to take action, they start by getting them to agree with a small related statement first. If they want someone to adopt a new idea, they introduce concepts that make that idea feel familiar before presenting it directly. Another major component of strategic influence is handling objections effectively. When people resist an idea, many persuaders make the mistake of immediately countering with a direct argument. Strategic thinkers, however, take a different approach. They first acknowledge the concern, showing that they understand and respect the other person's perspective. They then use reframing, presenting the same issue in a different light that aligns with the other person's values. Instead of telling someone they are wrong, they show them a different way of looking at the problem. Influence also requires persistence without aggression. Many people give up too easily when faced with initial resistance, while others push too aggressively and create opposition. The best influencers strike a balance. They remain persistent in advocating their ideas, but do so with patience and flexibility. They understand that repeated exposure to an idea increases acceptance, so they find subtle ways to reinforce their message over time. They also recognize that sometimes the best way to win an argument is not to argue at all, but to allow time and circumstances to shift perspectives naturally. Another powerful influence technique is creating a compelling vision. People are drawn to those who can articulate a clear, inspiring vision of the future. Strategic thinkers do not just focus on short-term persuasion. They paint a picture of what is possible, making others excited to be part of that future. They use vivid storytelling, strong imagery, and emotionally engaging narratives to make their vision feel real and attainable. They understand that facts alone rarely inspire action. Stories and emotions do. A final but critical element of influence is reputation management. Influence is not just about what is said in the moment. It is about how one is perceived over time. Strategic thinkers actively shape their reputation by being deliberate about their words, actions, and associations. They understand that every interaction contributes to their overall influence, and that trust is built over time. They are mindful of how they present themselves in every setting, ensuring that their actions align with the image they want to project. Mastering strategic influence requires credibility, emotional intelligence, framing, reciprocity, patience, social proof, adaptability, persuasion, effective objection handling, persistence, vision, and reputation management. It is not about manipulation, but about genuine leadership, guiding others toward better decisions, fostering collaboration, and creating alignment between individual and collective goals. Those who master influence can shape industries, lead movements, and drive meaningful change. In the next chapter, we will explore strategic resilience, the ability to navigate setbacks, overcome adversity, and maintain momentum in the face of obstacles. Because no matter how strong your strategy or influence, challenges will inevitably arise, and only those who master resilience can sustain long-term success. Chapter 8. Strategic Resilience, Turning Setbacks into Strength. In the pursuit of any meaningful goal, obstacles are not a possibility. They are a certainty. Markets fluctuate, unexpected crises arise, plans fall apart, and setbacks test our resolve. The difference between those who succeed and those who falter is not whether they face difficulties. It is how they respond to them. Strategic resilience is the ability to withstand shocks, adapt under pressure, and emerge stronger from adversity. It is not about avoiding failure altogether, but about using failure as a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block. Those who master resilience do not merely endure challenges, they leverage them to refine their strategies, sharpen their skills, and fortify their long-term vision. At the core of strategic resilience is mental toughness, the ability to maintain focus and clarity even in the face of uncertainty. Many people crumble under pressure because they allow setbacks to dictate their mindset. They view failure as a reflection of their inadequacy rather than an inevitable part of growth. Strategic thinkers, however, cultivate a different perspective. They see challenges as tests of endurance and adaptability. Instead of personalizing setbacks, they analyze them objectively, asking, "What can I learn from this? What adjustments need to be made? How can I use this experience to improve?" This shift in perspective transforms obstacles from threats into opportunities for growth. Another essential trait of resilient individuals and organizations is emotional regulation. Difficulties can trigger frustration, anxiety, or even despair. But those who master resilience develop the ability to manage their emotions effectively. They understand that reacting impulsively to setbacks often leads to poor decisions. Instead of allowing fear or anger to take control, they practice deliberate composure, pausing, assessing the situation with a level head, and responding strategically rather than emotionally. They use techniques like mindfulness, reframing, and controlled breathing to stay centered, ensuring that even in high-pressure situations, their judgment remains sharp. A key factor in resilience is preparation for adversity. Many failures are not due to a lack of ability, but a lack of foresight. Strategic thinkers anticipate potential obstacles before they occur and build contingency plans to address them. They ask, "What are the most likely challenges we could face? How can we prepare for them in advance? What alternative strategies can we implement if our initial plan fails?" By thinking several steps ahead, they ensure that when difficulties arise, they are not caught off guard. This proactive approach reduces the impact of setbacks and enables quicker recovery. One of the most powerful tools for resilience is adaptive persistence, the ability to stay committed to a long-term goal while being flexible in approach. Many people struggle because they confuse stubbornness with determination. They refuse to alter their strategy even when it is clearly failing. Strategic thinkers, however, understand that persistence without adaptability leads to stagnation. They remain unwavering in their end goal, but are willing to modify their methods. If one path is blocked, they find another. If a plan proves ineffective, they refine it. This combination of perseverance and adaptability ensures sustained progress even in unpredictable environments. A major aspect of resilience is resourcefulness, the ability to make the most of available assets, even when conditions are less than ideal. Many people falter when they believe they lack the necessary tools, connections, or opportunities to move forward. Resilient individuals, however, refuse to be limited by their circumstances. They ask, "What do I have right now that I can use? How can I leverage my existing skills, relationships, and knowledge to overcome this challenge?" They find creative solutions, repurpose resources, and capitalize on unexpected advantages. Instead of fixating on what they lack, they focus on what they can do with what they have. One of the most overlooked components of resilience is the ability to reframe failure. Many people view setbacks as evidence that they are not good enough or that their efforts have been wasted. Strategic thinkers, however, recognize that failure is a necessary ingredient of success. They understand that every mistake provides valuable feedback, highlighting what does not work so they can refine their approach. Instead of seeing failure as an endpoint, they treat it as a data point, one step in the larger process of learning and improvement. They reframe failure as progress, recognizing that each misstep brings them closer to mastery. Resilience is also deeply tied to self-belief. When faced with repeated challenges, many people begin to doubt themselves, questioning whether they are capable of achieving their goals. Strategic thinkers counter this by cultivating unshakable confidence, not through blind optimism, but through evidence-based self-trust. They remind themselves of past successes, track their progress, and reinforce their capabilities through continuous learning. They do not allow external setbacks to erode their internal sense of worth. This self-assurance acts as a buffer against discouragement, allowing them to push forward even when circumstances are difficult. Another critical element of resilience is strategic patience. Many people expect quick results and become discouraged when progress is slower than anticipated. Resilient individuals, however, understand that success is often a long game. They adopt a delayed gratification mindset, recognizing that sustained effort over time yields greater rewards than short-lived bursts of motivation. They avoid the trap of immediate validation, understanding that true breakthroughs require consistent refinement and perseverance. They embrace the process, knowing that setbacks are temporary, but progress is cumulative. A vital skill in resilience is building a strong support network. Many people try to navigate challenges alone, believing that seeking help is a sign of weakness. Strategic thinkers, however, understand that resilience is reinforced through strategic alliances. They surround themselves with mentors, advisors, and peers who provide guidance, encouragement, and alternative perspectives. They leverage the wisdom of those who have overcome similar obstacles, using collective knowledge to enhance their own resilience. They recognize that resilience is not just about personal strength, but about knowing when to rely on the strength of others. Another underestimated resilience strategy is creating small wins. Large setbacks can be overwhelming, leading to feelings of helplessness. Strategic thinkers counter this by breaking down major challenges into smaller, manageable victories. They focus on achieving incremental progress, recognizing that even small successes build momentum. These small wins reinforce motivation, making larger challenges feel more surmountable. They understand that resilience is not about enduring a single massive challenge, but about consistently moving forward despite difficulties. One of the most powerful mindsets in resilience is acceptance of uncertainty. Many people struggle with setbacks because they crave control over every outcome. When things do not go as planned, they become paralyzed by fear or indecision. Strategic thinkers, however, embrace uncertainty as a fundamental part of life. They do not resist change or fear the unknown. They adapt to it. They view uncertainty as a space of possibility rather than a source of anxiety. This acceptance allows them to navigate unpredictable circumstances with confidence rather than hesitation. Mastering resilience requires mental toughness, emotional regulation, preparation, adaptive persistence, resourcefulness, self-belief, strategic patience, strong support networks, and an acceptance of uncertainty. It is not about avoiding difficulties, but about using difficulties as fuel for growth. The most successful individuals and organizations are not those who never face adversity, but those who develop the capacity to withstand, adapt, and thrive despite it. Resilience is the foundation of all long-term achievement. Without it, even the best strategies and talents will falter. In the next chapter, we will explore strategic execution, the process of turning vision into reality, ensuring that well-crafted strategies are not just theoretical concepts, but actionable, results-driven initiatives. Because in the end, resilience is only valuable if it leads to continued forward movement, and execution is where all strategy either succeeds or fails. Chapter 9. Strategic Execution, Turning Vision into Reality. A strategy is only as powerful as its execution. No matter how brilliant an idea or well-crafted a plan, if it remains confined to the realm of theory, it is as good as useless. The world is filled with individuals and organizations that had great ambitions, but failed to implement them effectively. Strategic execution is the ability to bridge the gap between vision and action, ensuring that goals are not only defined, but systematically pursued and realized. It is the difference between those who dream of success and those who achieve it. Execution requires discipline, adaptability, resource management, and a relentless commitment to progress. It demands not just the ability to design a plan, but the capacity to bring that plan to life with precision and persistence. One of the foundational principles of execution is clarity of objectives. Many strategic failures occur not because of incompetence or lack of effort, but due to vague or misaligned goals. Execution requires absolute clarity about what needs to be achieved, why it matters, and how success will be measured. The best strategists break down their long-term vision into concrete, actionable milestones, ensuring that each step is clearly defined and trackable. They move beyond general aspirations like increase revenue or improve productivity, and instead define measurable outcomes. Increase quarterly revenue by 15% by launching 3 targeted marketing campaigns and improving customer retention by 10%. This level of specificity transforms abstract ambitions into tangible action plans. Another critical element of execution is prioritization. Many individuals and organizations fail because they spread their energy too thin, attempting to tackle too many objectives simultaneously. Strategic thinkers recognize that not all tasks are created equal. They apply the Pareto principle, understanding that 20% of efforts drive 80% of results. They focus on high-impact actions, identifying the few critical tasks that will drive the most significant progress toward their goals. They eliminate distractions, cut unnecessary tasks, and ensure that their time and resources are allocated to what truly matters. They ask, "What is the single most important thing I can do today that will bring me closer to my ultimate objective?" And they execute that relentlessly. A major challenge in execution is overcoming inertia and resistance to change. Even the best strategic plans encounter pushback, whether from internal hesitation, organizational bureaucracy, or external resistance. Many people abandon execution at the first sign of difficulty, assuming that setbacks mean the strategy is flawed. Strategic thinkers, however, anticipate resistance as an inevitable part of implementation. They proactively address concerns, provide clear justifications for change, and create buy-in from key stakeholders. They understand that execution is not just about moving forward. It is about aligning people, processes, and resources to support that movement. One of the most underrated factors in execution is momentum. Many people start strong but lose steam when they fail to see immediate results. Strategic execution requires consistency over intensity. It is not about short bursts of effort, but about sustained, disciplined action over time. The most effective executors create systems and habits that ensure continuous progress, no matter how small. They set daily, weekly, and monthly execution targets, track progress meticulously, and adjust their approach based on real-time feedback. They do not wait for motivation. They build routines that drive action, even when motivation fades. Execution also demands relentless accountability. Many strategies fail not because of bad planning, but because no one takes full ownership of their execution. Strategic thinkers establish clear responsibility structures, ensuring that every task has an accountable person attached to it. They implement tracking mechanisms such as performance dashboards, check-in meetings, and regular progress reports to ensure that execution does not drift into ambiguity. They understand that what gets measured gets managed, and they refuse to let goals stagnate due to lack of follow-through. Another critical aspect of execution is agility and adaptability. No strategy unfolds exactly as planned. Market conditions shift, unexpected obstacles emerge, and new opportunities arise. Many people fail in execution because they rigidly stick to their initial plan, refusing to adjust when reality demands it. Strategic thinkers, however, operate with disciplined flexibility. They remain committed to their ultimate goal, but are willing to modify their approach as needed. They regularly assess progress, identify what is working and what is not, and iterate their execution strategy in real time. They embrace change as part of the process rather than seeing it as a disruption. One of the most powerful execution strategies is leveraging leverage itself, the ability to amplify results by maximizing the impact of effort, resources, and influence. Strategic thinkers understand that they do not have to execute everything alone. They delegate effectively, automate repetitive tasks, and build strategic partnerships to accelerate progress. They ask, how can I achieve more with less effort? How can I use existing systems, tools, and people to execute more efficiently? They focus on high-leverage activities, ensuring that their time is spent on tasks that create exponential impact rather than incremental progress. Another essential principle of execution is eliminating bottlenecks. Many execution failures occur because of small but critical obstacles that slow down progress. These can be operational inefficiencies, bureaucratic delays, lack of resources, or internal resistance. Strategic executors proactively identify and remove constraints, ensuring that execution flows smoothly. They conduct bottleneck analysis, asking, what is the single biggest factor slowing down progress? What steps can be taken to remove or bypass this barrier? By consistently addressing constraints, they ensure that execution remains fluid and unhindered. A key factor in execution success is maintaining a bias for action. Many individuals and organizations get stuck in the cycle of overplanning and overanalyzing, delaying execution indefinitely. Strategic thinkers understand that imperfect action is better than perfect inaction. They embrace the philosophy of learning by doing, launching initiatives quickly, testing ideas in the real world, and refining their approach based on actual results rather than theoretical assumptions. They do not wait for the perfect moment. They create progress through continuous iteration and execution. Execution also requires resilience in the face of setbacks. Every execution plan encounters obstacles, failures, and unexpected roadblocks. Many people give up at the first sign of difficulty, assuming that setbacks mean they are on the wrong path. Strategic executors, however, understand that setbacks are an inherent part of progress. They develop the mindset of relentless persistence, learning from failures, adjusting their approach, and continuing forward despite difficulties. They recognize that success is not about avoiding failure, but about overcoming it. A final but crucial principle of execution is sustaining energy and motivation over the long term. Many execution efforts fail because people burn out, lose interest, or become overwhelmed. Strategic thinkers understand that execution is a marathon, not a sprint. They prioritize sustainable work habits, ensuring that effort is paced rather than exhausted. They celebrate small wins to maintain momentum, take strategic breaks to prevent burnout, and constantly remind themselves of their greater purpose and vision. They create an environment that supports execution, ensuring that motivation is not reliant on fleeting inspiration, but on deeply ingrained systems and mindsets. Mastering execution requires clarity, prioritization, momentum, accountability, adaptability, leverage, bottleneck removal, bias for action, resilience, and sustainability. It is not just about having great ideas. It is about bringing those ideas to life with precision, persistence, and effectiveness. The world does not reward those who merely plan. It rewards those who execute relentlessly. Those who master execution turn strategies into successes, dreams into realities, and ambitions into legacies. In the next chapter, we will explore strategic negotiation, how to secure favorable outcomes, influence decision-making, and navigate complex discussions with confidence and skill. Because once execution is mastered, the next step is ensuring that every deal, partnership, and agreement works in your favor. Chapter 10. Strategic Negotiation, Mastering the Art of Influence and Persuasion. Negotiation is not just a skill reserved for business executives, diplomats, or high-stakes deal-makers. It is a fundamental part of everyday life, shaping everything from job offers and promotions to partnerships, investments, and even personal relationships. Whether you realize it or not, you are negotiating constantly, sometimes for tangible rewards like salary increases, other times for intangible benefits like respect, influence, or decision-making power. The ability to negotiate effectively can be the difference between getting what you want and settling for less. Yet, many people approach negotiation with hesitation, discomfort, or even fear. Some view it as a confrontational battle while others avoid it altogether, assuming that asking for more is too aggressive or risky. Strategic thinkers, however, understand that negotiation is neither a fight nor an act of manipulation. It is a structured conversation aimed at achieving mutually beneficial outcomes while ensuring one's own interests are protected and maximized. At its core, negotiation is about leverage, the ability to influence the other party's perception of value, risk, and opportunity. Many people enter negotiations unprepared, assuming that their needs and desires are self-evident. They make the mistake of believing that stating their position is enough to persuade the other side. However, strategic negotiators understand that successful outcomes depend not on what they want, but on how well they frame their value proposition in a way that aligns with the interests of the other party. They recognize that negotiation is not just about demanding, but about demonstrating why their offer, request, or position creates value for all parties involved. A crucial first step in strategic negotiation is preparation. Many people fail in negotiations because they enter discussions without a clear plan. They have a vague idea of what they want, but lack concrete goals, backup options, or an understanding of the other party's motivations. Skilled negotiators, on the other hand, invest significant time in gathering intelligence before they ever step into the conversation. They research the needs, pressures, and priorities of the other party. They analyze past negotiations, market conditions, and any external factors that could impact the discussion. They identify their best alternative to a negotiated agreement, BATNA, the course of action they will take if the negotiation does not go in their favor. By being well prepared, they ensure that they are not negotiating from a position of weakness, but from one of informed strength. Another key factor in negotiation is emotional control. Many deals fall apart, not due to logical disagreements, but because emotions escalate and cloud judgment. Some people become overly aggressive, pushing too hard and alienating the other party. Others become too accommodating, giving up too much too soon out of a desire to maintain harmony. Strategic negotiators master the ability to remain calm, composed, and strategically responsive rather than emotionally reactive. They do not allow frustration, impatience, or ego to dictate their approach. Instead, they maintain a disciplined, measured demeanor, ensuring that every decision is made based on rational strategy rather than fleeting emotions. One of the most powerful techniques in negotiation is the power of silence. Many people feel uncomfortable with pauses in conversation, rushing to fill the void with concessions or justifications. Skilled negotiators, however, understand that silence creates pressure, encouraging the other party to reveal information, reconsider their stance, or even make the first move. They use silence strategically to create space for deeper reflection, allowing their counterparts to negotiate against themselves rather than giving away unnecessary advantages. Another crucial element of negotiation is framing, the ability to shape how an offer or request is perceived. The way a proposal is presented can significantly impact how it is received. For example, instead of saying, "I need a raise of $10,000," a skilled negotiator might say, "Given my performance over the past year and the revenue I've generated for the company, a salary adjustment of $10,000 would bring my compensation in line with industry benchmarks." By framing the request in terms of measurable contributions and fairness rather than personal need, they increase the likelihood of a positive response. A major mistake in negotiation is focusing too much on price or immediate terms while ignoring long-term value. Many people become fixated on securing a short-term win, failing to consider the broader implications of a deal. Strategic negotiators take a holistic approach, evaluating how each decision impacts their overall goals and positioning. They ask, what are the hidden costs and benefits of this agreement? How will this decision affect future negotiations? Are there non-monetary advantages that could create additional value? They think beyond the immediate transaction, ensuring that every deal serves as a stepping stone toward greater strategic gains. Another essential skill in negotiation is controlling the pace of the discussion. Many people rush to close deals out of impatience or fear of losing the opportunity. However, skilled negotiators understand that control lies in patience. They slow down discussions when necessary, allowing time for deeper evaluation and calculated decision-making. They do not allow urgency to force them into unfavorable terms. Instead, they set the tempo, ensuring that they dictate the flow of the negotiation rather than being pulled along by external pressures. A highly effective negotiation technique is anchoring, the practice of establishing a reference point that influences subsequent discussions. Studies in behavioral psychology have shown that the first number or proposal put on the table often serves as an anchor, shaping the rest of the negotiation. Strategic negotiators use this to their advantage by setting the initial terms high, knowing that even if adjustments are made, the final outcome will be closer to their desired position than if they had started with a lower offer. However, they also remain aware of when the other party is attempting to anchor them and counteract it by reframing the discussion on their own terms. One of the most overlooked but powerful aspects of negotiation is relationship management. Many people approach negotiations as one-time transactions, failing to consider the long-term impact on trust and collaboration. Skilled negotiators understand that every negotiation sets the tone for future interactions. They build rapport, credibility, and goodwill, ensuring that even tough negotiations end on a positive note. They recognize that a great deal is not just about securing favorable terms, but about maintaining a relationship that leads to future opportunities. Mastering negotiation also requires the ability to walk away. Many people fear losing a deal so much that they compromise excessively, settling for terms that undermine their own interests. Strategic negotiators, however, enter every discussion with a clear understanding of their limits. They know when an agreement no longer aligns with their goals, and they have the confidence to exit rather than accept unfavorable terms. They understand that sometimes the best negotiation move is to walk away and create leverage for better opportunities in the future. Ultimately, strategic negotiation is a combination of preparation, leverage, emotional control, framing, patience, anchoring, and relationship management. It is not about overpowering or outmaneuvering the other party. It is about creating value, securing optimal outcomes, and ensuring long-term success. Those who master negotiation do not merely get what they ask for. They shape discussions, influence perceptions, and position themselves for sustained advantage. In the next chapter, we will explore strategic decision-making, how to eliminate hesitation, optimize choices, and ensure that every decision serves as a catalyst for long-term success. Because once you master negotiation, the next step is making decisions that maximize the value of every opportunity you secure. Chapter 11. Strategic Decision-Making, Optimizing Choices for Maximum Impact. Decision-making is at the core of strategy. Every success, every failure, every triumph, and every missed opportunity can be traced back to a decision that was made or not made. The ability to make sound, strategic decisions separates those who lead from those who follow, those who thrive from those who struggle, and those who shape the future from those who merely react to it. Yet, decision-making is one of the most difficult challenges people face, whether in business, leadership, or personal life. Many people hesitate, overanalyze, or fall into the trap of paralysis by analysis, where fear of making the wrong choice prevents them from making any choice at all. Others make decisions too impulsively, relying on emotions rather than logic, leading to outcomes they later regret. Strategic thinkers, however, master the art and science of decision-making, ensuring that every choice they make is deliberate, optimized, and aligned with their long-term vision. One of the most crucial aspects of strategic decision-making is understanding the cost of indecision. Many people believe that avoiding a decision means avoiding risk, but in reality, indecision is a decision in itself, and often the worst one. When people fail to act, they allow external circumstances to dictate their fate, rather than taking control of their own trajectory. They leave opportunities on the table, allow problems to escalate, and ultimately weaken their own position. Strategic thinkers understand that certainty is rare, and that waiting for perfect information or the ideal moment often results in missed chances. They accept that every decision involves risk, and that the key is not to eliminate risk, but to manage and minimize it through calculated choices. A foundational principle of strong decision-making is clarity of objectives. Many poor decisions stem not from a lack of intelligence, but from a lack of direction. When people do not have a clear understanding of their ultimate goals, they become easily swayed by temporary pressures, conflicting advice, or short-term gains. Strategic thinkers, however, approach every decision with a clear end goal in mind. They ask themselves, does this choice bring me closer to my long-term vision, or is it merely a distraction? They ensure that every decision aligns with their core priorities and overarching strategy, filtering out noise and focusing only on choices that drive meaningful progress. Another critical factor in decision-making is weighing opportunity cost, the value of what is lost when one option is chosen over another. Many people make decisions based solely on what they stand to gain, failing to consider what they might be sacrificing in the process. Strategic thinkers, however, evaluate decisions holistically, asking, if I commit to this path, what am I giving up? Is this the best possible use of my time, energy, and resources? They recognize that every choice comes at the expense of another, and they ensure that the trade-offs are worth it. One of the most powerful tools in decision-making is the ability to remove emotions from the process. While emotions are valuable in many aspects of life, they can be dangerous when making high-stakes choices. Fear, greed, excitement, and frustration can all cloud judgment, leading people to make impulsive or irrational decisions. Strategic thinkers train themselves to detach emotionally and view decisions with objectivity and logic. They use data, patterns, and rational analysis to guide their choices rather than reacting to temporary feelings. This does not mean they ignore intuition, but they balance instinct with measurable insights and calculated reasoning. One common pitfall in decision-making is confirmation bias, where people seek out information that supports their existing beliefs while ignoring evidence that contradicts them. This bias can lead to poor decisions because it prevents individuals from seeing the full picture. Strategic thinkers combat confirmation bias by actively seeking dissenting opinions, alternative viewpoints, and opposing arguments. They challenge their own assumptions, ask tough questions, and ensure that their decisions are based on facts rather than preconceived notions. They understand that the strongest decisions are made not when everything aligns with their expectations, but when every possible angle has been rigorously examined. Another key to strategic decision-making is using mental models, frameworks that help simplify complex choices and improve judgment. Some of the most effective mental models include first principles thinking, breaking down a problem to its most fundamental truths, rather than relying on assumptions or conventional wisdom. Second-order thinking, considering not just the immediate consequences of a decision, but the long-term ripple effects. Inversion, instead of asking, "How do I succeed?" asking, "What would guarantee failure?" and then avoiding those factors. 80-20 rule, identifying the 20% of actions that will generate 80% of the results and focusing on those. Regret minimization framework, asking, "Will I regret this decision 10 years from now?" and using the answer as a guide. By using these models, strategic thinkers ensure that their decisions are not based on gut feelings or guesswork, but on structured, proven reasoning techniques. A major challenge in decision-making is analysis paralysis, the tendency to overthink, over-research, and delay action due to excessive information gathering. Many people believe that more data leads to better decisions, but beyond a certain point, too much information creates confusion rather than clarity. Strategic thinkers know how to balance thoroughness with decisiveness. They set clear decision deadlines, gather only the most relevant information, and avoid the trap of endless deliberation. They understand that action is always better than inaction, and they trust their ability to adjust and refine their approach as new information emerges. Another essential element of strong decision-making is learning from past choices. Every decision, whether successful or not, provides valuable lessons. Many people make the mistake of repeating past errors because they fail to analyze their own patterns. Strategic thinkers, however, conduct post-decision reviews asking, "What went right? What went wrong? What can I do better next time?" They document their decision-making processes, track outcomes, and refine their approach based on real-world results. Over time, this continuous improvement makes them exceptionally skilled at recognizing patterns, avoiding pitfalls, and optimizing their choices. One of the most underestimated factors in decision-making is confidence. Many people hesitate, seek excessive validation, or second-guess themselves because they lack the belief that they are capable of making good choices. Strategic thinkers cultivate inner conviction, trusting in their knowledge, experience, and judgment. They understand that no decision is ever perfect, but that the worst decision is no decision at all. They move forward with certainty and resilience, knowing that even if mistakes happen, they have the ability to learn, adapt, and course correct. Ultimately, strategic decision-making is about clarity, opportunity cost, emotional discipline, rigorous analysis, mental models, decisiveness, learning from experience, and confidence. It is not about making the right choice every time. It is about consistently making better choices over time, refining judgment, and ensuring that every decision serves a greater purpose. Those who master decision-making do not leave their future to chance. They shape it, control it, and optimize it with precision. In the next chapter, we will explore strategic leadership, how to inspire, influence, and guide people toward shared success. Because once you master decision-making, the next step is leading others with the same level of clarity, confidence, and strategic intent. Chapter 12. Strategic Leadership. Guiding with vision, influence, and precision leadership is not about titles, authority, or hierarchy. True leadership is about influence, the ability to guide, inspire, and elevate those around you toward a common goal. It is the force that transforms ideas into action, visions into reality, and individuals into high-performing teams. While some believe leadership is an innate talent, strategic thinkers understand that leadership is a skill, one that can be developed, refined, and perfected over time. The best leaders are not those who demand obedience, but those who command respect through their actions, decisions, and the example they set. They know that leadership is not about control, but about empowerment, not about issuing orders, but about creating clarity, direction, and purpose. The foundation of strategic leadership is vision. Many people assume that leadership is about managing day-to-day operations, solving problems, and keeping things running smoothly. While these are important, they are not leadership. They are management. Leadership is about seeing beyond the immediate, thinking long-term, and crafting a compelling vision for the future. Without vision, people drift. Teams become reactive instead of proactive, and organizations lose momentum. A strategic leader ensures that every action, every initiative, and every resource is aligned with a larger purpose. They ask, where are we going? Why does it matter? How does every decision we make today shape the future we are building? A clear vision does more than provide direction. It creates meaning and motivation, ensuring that people are not just working, but working towards something significant. However, vision alone is not enough. Many leaders struggle because they fail to communicate their vision effectively. A vision that is not understood is useless. A vision that does not inspire is meaningless. Strategic leaders are master communicators, able to articulate their ideas with clarity, confidence, and conviction. They do not just tell people what to do, they paint a picture of the future so compelling that others are eager to be part of it. They understand that communication is not just about speaking. It is about listening, engaging, and ensuring that their message resonates at every level. They adapt their communication style to different audiences, ensuring that whether they are speaking to executives, employees, investors, or customers, their message is clear, persuasive, and actionable. One of the biggest challenges in leadership is earning trust and credibility. People do not follow leaders because they are told to. They follow because they believe in them. Trust is the currency of leadership, and it is not given freely. It must be earned through consistency, integrity, and competence. Strategic leaders understand that every action they take either strengthens or weakens trust. They lead by example, ensuring that their behavior aligns with their words. They do not ask for accountability, they demonstrate it. They do not just set high standards for others, they hold themselves to an even higher standard. They understand that credibility is built not in moments of ease, but in moments of difficulty. How they respond to challenges, crises, and failures defines whether people see them as leaders worth following. Another key element of strategic leadership is decision-making under uncertainty. Many people hesitate to lead because they fear making the wrong choice. But leadership is not about having perfect answers. It is about making the best possible decisions with the information available and having the confidence to adapt when circumstances change. The best leaders are not those who never make mistakes, but those who learn from every decision and adjust accordingly. They embrace calculated risk, knowing that inaction is often more dangerous than a wrong move. They are decisive, yet flexible, willing to commit, yet humble enough to pivot when necessary. Strategic leaders also understand the power of influence. Many people assume leadership means giving orders, but the most effective leaders lead not through authority, but through persuasion, motivation, and empowerment. They recognize that influence comes from understanding what drives people, aligning interests, and creating a culture of shared purpose. They do not rely on force or fear, but on alignment and inspiration. They cultivate genuine relationships, recognize individual strengths, and help people see how their contributions matter. They create an environment where people feel valued, challenged, and driven to excel. Not because they are forced to, but because they want to. One of the greatest leadership skills is conflict management. In any organization, conflict is inevitable. Different perspectives, goals, and personalities will clash. Many leaders shy away from conflict, fearing it will create division. But strategic leaders understand that conflict is not inherently negative. It is an opportunity for growth, innovation, and stronger relationships. They do not avoid difficult conversations. They navigate them with skill, fairness, and emotional intelligence. They ensure that disagreements are productive rather than destructive, guiding discussions toward solutions rather than allowing them to become personal battles. They create a culture where differences are embraced, challenges are tackled head-on, and resolution is focused on progress rather than blame. Another vital aspect of leadership is developing and empowering others. Many leaders make the mistake of trying to do everything themselves, believing that control ensures success. However, true leadership is not about individual achievement, but about lifting others up and creating a high-performing team. Strategic leaders recognize potential in others, mentor future leaders, and delegate not just tasks, but authority and trust. They invest in people, ensuring that the organization does not rely on them alone, but has a strong foundation of capable, empowered individuals who can drive success even in their absence. One of the biggest misconceptions about leadership is that it is about being liked. Many people fall into the trap of trying to please everyone, avoiding tough decisions to maintain approval. However, strategic leaders understand that leadership is not a popularity contest. It is about making the right decisions, even when they are difficult. They accept that not everyone will agree with them, and not everyone will be happy with their choices. Their focus is not on short-term approval, but on long-term respect and impact. They balance empathy with decisiveness, ensuring that while they care about people, they do not compromise the mission, the vision, or the integrity of their leadership. Another essential skill of strategic leadership is resilience. Leadership comes with pressure, criticism, and challenges. It requires the ability to withstand setbacks, adapt to unforeseen circumstances, and maintain a steady course even when things do not go as planned. Many leaders burn out because they lack resilience. They allow failures to break them, criticism to paralyze them, or uncertainty to shake their confidence. Strategic leaders, however, develop mental toughness, emotional intelligence, and an unshakable belief in their mission. They view failures as lessons, criticism as feedback, and challenges as opportunities to grow. They stay calm under pressure, decisive in chaos, and unwavering in their commitment to success. Ultimately, strategic leadership is about vision, trust, influence, decision-making, resilience, conflict resolution, and the ability to inspire and develop others. It is not about having power. It is about using power responsibly and effectively to drive progress. The best leaders are not those who seek recognition, but those who create lasting impact. They understand that leadership is not about what they achieve alone, but about what they enable others to achieve. In the next chapter, we will explore strategic adaptability, how to stay ahead of change, turn challenges into opportunities, and ensure long-term relevance in an ever-evolving world. Because once you master leadership, the next step is ensuring that your vision, influence, and strategy remain powerful, flexible, and future-proof. Chapter 13. Strategic Adaptability. Thriving in an ever-changing world. Change is the only certainty in life and business. The world does not stand still, and those who fail to adapt find themselves left behind, outmaneuvered, and struggling to remain relevant. Strategic adaptability is not just a skill, it is a survival mechanism. Those who master it do not merely react to change, they anticipate, shape, and leverage it to their advantage. They do not fear disruption. They embrace it as an opportunity. They understand that the ability to pivot, rethink, and transform is what separates lasting success from rapid decline. In a world where industries are reshaped overnight, technology advances at an unprecedented pace, and customer expectations shift constantly, the ability to evolve without losing direction is the defining trait of the most successful individuals, leaders, and organizations. Adaptability is not about abandoning strategy. It is about making strategy fluid. Many people mistake rigidity for strength, believing that staying the course, holding firm, and refusing to change direction is a sign of resilience. However, true strength lies in agility. A tree that refuses to bend in a storm will break, while one that sways with the wind will stand tall long after the storm has passed. Strategic thinkers do not cling to outdated models, obsolete methods, or past successes that no longer serve them. They constantly evaluate their environment, identifying shifts before they happen, adjusting their approach while staying true to their core mission and long-term vision. They understand that what worked yesterday may not work tomorrow, and they are always ready to adapt without losing purpose. One of the greatest obstacles to adaptability is resistance to change. Many people fear change because it creates uncertainty, disrupts comfort, and challenges deeply held beliefs. Organizations struggle with change because it requires people to unlearn old habits, adopt new mindsets, and step into the unknown. However, strategic thinkers condition themselves and their teams to see change not as a threat, but as an advantage. They cultivate a culture where learning, evolution, and experimentation are celebrated rather than feared. They encourage curiosity, innovation, and the constant questioning of assumptions. They train themselves and those around them to ask, "What's next? How can we improve? What opportunities does this shift create?" Rather than clinging to the past or resisting the inevitable, a key part of adaptability is scanning the horizon for weak signals of change. Many disruptions do not happen suddenly. They build gradually, leaving clues along the way. Strategic thinkers develop situational awareness, paying attention to emerging trends, industry shifts, customer behaviors, and technological advancements. They ask, "What is changing beneath the surface that others have not yet noticed? How can I position myself ahead of the curve rather than reacting after the fact?" They engage with diverse sources of information, seeking insights from different industries, disciplines, and global perspectives. They look beyond the obvious, reading patterns that others overlook and preparing for the future before it arrives. However, adaptability is not just about external awareness. It is also about internal flexibility. Many people recognize change but struggle to act on it because they are held back by ego, attachment, or fear of failure. Strategic thinkers train themselves to detach from their own ideas, recognizing that success is not about being right, but about being effective. They are not afraid to abandon strategies that no longer work, rethink long-standing beliefs, or admit when an approach is no longer serving their goals. They create an environment where experimentation is encouraged, mistakes are seen as learning experiences, and change is seen as an integral part of growth, rather than a sign of failure. One of the most important elements of adaptability is speed. Many organizations and individuals recognize the need for change, but they move too slowly, allowing indecision, bureaucracy, or analysis paralysis to delay action. The most successful individuals and companies move fast, test quickly, and iterate relentlessly. They understand that waiting for the perfect moment means missing the moment entirely. They prioritize action over perfection, knowing that progress comes not from endless deliberation, but from rapid execution, learning, and continuous refinement. Strategic adaptability also requires resilience in the face of uncertainty. Change is unpredictable, and not every pivot leads to immediate success. Many people abandon new approaches too quickly because they expect instant results. However, strategic thinkers stay committed to adaptability even when results are not immediate. They trust the process, adjust based on feedback, and remain mentally strong even when uncertainty is high. They develop the ability to stay calm, focused, and forward-thinking, even when facing setbacks, unexpected shifts, or major disruptions. They know that those who adapt consistently, not just occasionally, are the ones who ultimately thrive. Another critical component of adaptability is developing a network of diverse perspectives. Many people limit their thinking to their immediate industry, team, or experience, which narrows their ability to anticipate and respond to change. Strategic thinkers surround themselves with a wide range of voices: mentors, experts, innovators, and unconventional thinkers who challenge their assumptions and expand their understanding. They actively seek insights from different fields, learning from industries outside their own to discover new ways of thinking, fresh approaches, and untapped opportunities. They know that breakthrough ideas often come from unexpected places, and they make a habit of engaging with people, ideas, and experiences that push them outside their comfort zone. One of the greatest signs of adaptability is having a proactive rather than reactive mindset. Many people wait for change to force their hand, reacting only when circumstances demand it. Strategic thinkers, however, stay ahead by proactively shaping their own future. They do not wait for competitors to innovate before they take action, nor do they wait for a crisis to force them to rethink their approach. They consistently ask, "How can I disrupt myself before someone else does? What steps can I take today to ensure I am ahead tomorrow?" They are constantly evolving, refining, and innovating, even when things are going well. They understand that complacency is the enemy of long-term success, and they never allow themselves to become comfortable with the status quo. At the core of adaptability is a commitment to lifelong learning. The world's most adaptable individuals and leaders are not those who believe they have all the answers, but those who are always seeking new knowledge, perspectives, and skills. They invest in personal growth, continuously refining their abilities and staying intellectually agile. They are not afraid to unlearn outdated knowledge and relearn new principles. They are students of change, constantly evolving to remain relevant, competitive, and ahead of the curve. Ultimately, strategic adaptability is not about reacting to change. It is about owning it, mastering it, and using it as a competitive advantage. It is about developing the mental agility, emotional resilience, and strategic foresight to navigate uncertainty with confidence. Those who master adaptability do not fear the future. They shape it, lead it, and thrive in it. In the next chapter, we will explore the power of strategic influence, how to persuade, inspire, and shape decisions on a deeper level to create lasting impact. Because once you master adaptability, the next step is ensuring that you can influence others to embrace change, innovation, and bold action as well. Chapter 14. Strategic Influence: The Power to Shape Perceptions, Decisions, and Outcomes. Influence is the invisible force that governs human interactions, shaping the way decisions are made, alliances are formed, and outcomes unfold. It is not about control, nor is it about manipulation. It is about understanding the psychology of perception, trust, and motivation to create meaningful and lasting impact. The most effective leaders, negotiators, entrepreneurs, and visionaries are not those who merely issue orders or dictate terms. They are those who master the subtle art of persuasion, alignment, and trust building. They recognize that influence is not a tool reserved for those in positions of authority. It is a skill that anyone can develop and apply to achieve strategic goals, inspire action, and navigate complex social and professional landscapes. Strategic influence is built upon a foundation of credibility, emotional intelligence, and tactical communication. People do not follow or trust individuals simply because they hold titles or positions of power. True influence is earned, not given. It is the result of demonstrating expertise, reliability, and authenticity over time. The most influential people in any field are those whose words carry weight, not because they speak the loudest, but because they have consistently proven their ability to think critically, anticipate challenges, and make decisions that lead to positive and effective outcomes. They understand that influence is not about forcing others to see things their way. It is about presenting ideas, information, and perspectives in a way that naturally aligns with the needs, interests, and values of those they seek to persuade. At the core of influence lies trust. Without trust, even the most compelling arguments fall flat. Trust is not built through rhetoric alone. It is built through action. People are influenced by those who demonstrate consistency between their words and behavior, who make and honor commitments, and who prioritize long-term relationships over short-term gains. The moment trust is compromised, influence is weakened. This is why the most successful influencers are meticulous about their integrity. They do not promise what they cannot deliver. They do not exaggerate their capabilities, and they do not seek to deceive others for personal gain. Instead, they position themselves as reliable sources of wisdom, guidance, and insight, making them indispensable allies in any professional or personal setting. Another key component of strategic influence is understanding human behavior and decision-making biases. People do not make choices in a purely rational manner. They are guided by emotion, perception, and cognitive biases that shape their interpretation of information. An influential strategist recognizes that facts alone do not persuade. The way those facts are framed, the emotions they trigger, and the perceived benefits they offer all play a role in shaping decisions. This is why successful influencers leverage storytelling, social proof, and framing techniques to present their arguments in a way that resonates deeply. They understand that people are more likely to be persuaded when they feel heard, validated, and personally connected to the message being conveyed. The ability to ask the right questions is another hallmark of a powerful influencer. Many assume that persuasion is about presenting an airtight argument, but true influence is often about guiding others to arrive at conclusions on their own. Instead of directly imposing their viewpoint, skilled influencers use open-ended, thought-provoking questions that encourage introspection and gradual shifts in perspective. This technique is especially effective in negotiations, leadership, and conflict resolution, as it allows individuals to feel a sense of agency in the decision-making process. When people feel like they have discovered a solution independently, rather than being coerced into agreement, they are far more likely to commit to action. Another crucial principle of influence is the law of reciprocity. People have a natural inclination to return favors, whether consciously or unconsciously. Strategic influencers recognize this and lead by offering value before asking for anything in return. Whether it is providing useful insights, assisting with a challenge, or creating an opportunity, they build goodwill by being generous first. This creates a natural sense of obligation, making others more likely to be receptive when influence is later needed. However, this must be done with genuine intent. Insincere or transactional attempts at reciprocity can backfire and diminish credibility. Social proof and authority are also key drivers of influence. People are more likely to follow the lead of those they perceive as knowledgeable, experienced, or endorsed by others they respect. This is why testimonials, case studies, and expert endorsements are so effective in persuasion. Strategic influencers understand that the way they position themselves in relation to others can significantly impact how their message is received. Aligning with credible figures, referencing well-respected sources, and demonstrating tangible success through real-world examples all strengthen the ability to persuade. They do not simply assert their expertise. They show evidence of their authority through results, affiliations, and demonstrated skill. The principle of scarcity and urgency also plays a significant role in influence. People place a higher value on things that are perceived as rare, time-sensitive, or limited in availability. Whether it is a business opportunity, an investment, or a call to action, strategic influencers know how to highlight the unique advantages and fleeting nature of an opportunity without resorting to artificial pressure tactics. The key is to create a genuine sense of exclusivity and importance rather than relying on forced urgency, which can come across as manipulative. When people feel that they have a special opportunity that may not come again, they are far more inclined to take action. Mastering influence also requires adaptability in communication styles. Not everyone is persuaded in the same way. Some respond to data and logic, while others are moved by emotion and personal connection. The most effective influencers tailor their messaging based on the personality, values, and preferences of their audience. They recognize that a rigid, one-size-fits-all approach to persuasion is far less effective than a nuanced, flexible strategy that considers the unique motivations of each individual or group. This adaptability is what allows them to build bridges across differing viewpoints and persuade even those who may initially be resistant to their ideas. Finally, influence is most effective when it is long-term and sustainable rather than fleeting and situational. Some people succeed in persuading others in the short term, but fail to maintain influence over time because their tactics rely on pressure, deception, or short-lived incentives. Strategic influence, however, is about building a reputation and a presence that consistently commands respect, trust, and consideration. It is about creating a legacy of integrity, wisdom, and reliability that ensures that whenever one speaks, people listen, not because they are forced to, but because they genuinely value and trust the perspective being offered. The ability to influence strategically is not just a competitive advantage, it is one of the most powerful forces in shaping both personal and professional success. Whether leading a team, negotiating a deal, building a brand, or guiding an organization through change, those who understand how to shape perception, inspire action, and foster alignment will always be at the forefront of progress and innovation. Strategic influence is not about exerting control. It is about understanding people, guiding decisions, and leaving a lasting impact through trust, credibility, and intelligent communication. Those who master this art do not just navigate the world effectively, they shape it in profound and lasting ways. Chapter 15. The Legacy of Strategic Thinking, Building a Lasting Impact Beyond Success. Strategic thinking is not just about solving problems, outmaneuvering competition, or making intelligent decisions in the present. It is about creating a lasting impact that transcends personal success and leaves an indelible mark on the world. The greatest strategic thinkers do not just think about their immediate goals. They think beyond themselves, beyond their lifetime, and beyond their personal ambitions. They understand that real success is measured not by temporary victories, but by the long-term influence, transformation, and legacy they create. Legacy is not about ego or the desire to be remembered. It is about the ripple effect of the actions we take today and how they shape the future. A true strategic thinker does not just focus on personal wins, but asks, what am I building that will outlast me? What am I contributing that will continue to benefit others long after I am gone? How am I empowering, teaching, or inspiring others to think strategically and create their own impact? The most influential people in history, whether in business, leadership, innovation, or social change, did not just solve problems for themselves. They created systems, philosophies, and frameworks that enabled others to thrive long after their direct influence had ended. One of the hallmarks of strategic legacy is mentorship and knowledge transfer. Many people make the mistake of hoarding their expertise, believing that keeping information to themselves gives them a competitive advantage. However, true leaders understand that knowledge grows when shared, not when guarded. They actively invest in teaching others, developing future leaders, and passing down the principles that have shaped their own success. Whether in business, academia, innovation, or leadership, those who build legacies do not just think about how they can win. They think about how they can elevate those around them. A lasting legacy is also built through systems and structures that endure beyond personal presence. Many leaders and innovators make the mistake of centering their entire strategy around themselves, creating a model where everything relies on their decisions, their involvement, or their personal execution. But true strategic thinkers design frameworks that can sustain success even in their absence. They build organizations that do not collapse when leadership changes. They create business models that are adaptable and resilient. They establish principles, cultures, and ways of thinking that continue long after they are no longer directly involved. Another crucial element of legacy is innovation and forward-thinking action. Many people achieve success by capitalizing on existing trends, but those who leave a true legacy are the ones who create new paradigms, challenge conventional wisdom, and redefine what is possible. They do not just play the game, they change the game. They are the ones who ask, what does the world need that it does not yet have? What industry, market, or social problem can I address in a way that others have not yet considered? Their strategic thinking is not just about winning within the existing framework. It is about creating new frameworks that redefine the playing field entirely. A true legacy is also about character and ethical influence. Many people achieve short-term success through ruthless ambition, but strategic thinkers who create lasting impact understand the importance of integrity, fairness, and ethical leadership. The most respected and enduring legacies belong to those who balanced strategy with values, power with responsibility, and influence with purpose. They do not compromise their principles for temporary gain, nor do they build success on a foundation of exploitation or manipulation. Instead, they ensure that their strategies uplift others, create genuine value, and contribute to a better world rather than simply serving their own interests. One of the most overlooked yet powerful aspects of strategic legacy is resilience in the face of long-term uncertainty. Many people abandon their vision too soon, expecting immediate results or giving up when faced with challenges. However, those who leave a lasting impact understand that true change, influence, and transformation take time. They commit to the long game, knowing that setbacks, failures, and obstacles are part of the journey. They do not expect instant success. They expect persistent effort, continuous refinement, and an unwavering belief in their vision, even when others do not yet see it. A powerful legacy is also built through deep relationships and meaningful collaboration. No lasting impact is created in isolation. The greatest strategic thinkers understand the power of alliances, partnerships, and collective effort. They recognize that their vision can be amplified when they surround themselves with people who challenge, support, and expand their ideas. They do not hoard success. They create environments where others can also succeed, ensuring that their influence spreads far beyond their individual capabilities. Finally, strategic legacy is about having the courage to think beyond personal limitations. Many people confine their ambitions to what seems immediately achievable, never daring to consider the full scale of their potential. But true strategic thinkers challenge their own limits and push beyond conventional boundaries. They ask, what if I could do something truly transformative? What if I could redefine my field, my industry, or even my era? What if my ideas, actions, and influence could create a ripple effect that changes lives for generations? They dare to think bigger, act bolder, and leave behind something far greater than personal success. At the end of the day, the measure of strategic thinking is not just in the victories won, the challenges overcome, or the intelligent moves made. It is in the impact left behind, the people empowered, the systems built, and the world improved because of it. True strategic thinkers do not just navigate life skillfully, they shape it, redefine it, and create a lasting influence that continues long after they are gone. As you reflect on everything covered throughout this journey into strategic thinking, from mastering anticipation and problem solving to adaptability, influence, and legacy building, the question is no longer whether you can think strategically. It is what you will do with that ability now that you have it. The world is shaped by those who dare to think ahead, act decisively, and leave behind something greater than themselves. The only question that remains is, what will your strategic legacy be?